So finally, we get to wrap up this little run of wrestling events that we've had over the past couple of weeks. By my count, this is the fourth Nitro's Take I've done in 2 weeks over the last 2 weekends. But anyway, this was Nitro's Take of Great Balls of Fire, the pay-per-view with the great card and the weird name from Dallas, Texas. Here we go. Here are my takes on the show. Pre-show was Akira Tozawa versus Neville. And Neville retains the Cruiserweight title. Tozawa finally looks like he's accepted the Titus brand as his representation. I thought Titus carried himself pretty well. I think he's got a real good future as a manager, and I'm looking forward to see where this goes. The problem that I see right now is 205 Live looks like it might be towards its deathbed as it seems right now. We saw the news earlier this week that Austin Aries had been let go from the company or granted his release. Either way, no longer with WWE. And it's a bad deal. It's not a good sign when the top face in your division decides to bolt, even if he was injured. And or that was the story, that he had taken some time off to get some surgical work done and heal up. Who are they going to bring in to fill that gap is beyond me. Do you bring in an Enzo Amore or somebody off of the main roster that's a smaller athlete? That's the problem. So I don't know what you do. It's an issue that needs to be resolved before they go any further with it. Otherwise, it's going to get ugly before it gets better for that show. Opening match of the main show of Great Balls of Fire was Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins. Very passable match between the two of them. Wyatt gets the Duke, and not much I can add to it other than, it's bound for a rematch. Hopefully that's part of the matches that we see at SummerSlam. I'd like to see a rematch for both of them. Maybe with some sort of stipulation. Maybe a number one contendership for the Universal title. Who knows? I enjoyed it. Enzo and Cass, the big tag team split. No, not the Golden Truth. Enzo and Cass. This is the one that some people on the show that watch the show actually cared about, I should say. It was first of all, Cass's new music. I'm not a fan of it. It just seems like either something plucked from the Creator Wrestler library for WWE 2K, or something from the TNA GFW library, production library. It just seems a little too generic there, but that can easily be changed down the line. My concern with Cass is that he will become a big heel that no one will care about, much like Test was back in 2001, if you remember that, longtime wrestling fans. And that in itself is detrimental to the performer, and you don't want to see that happen. Cass gets to win here, but he desperately needs something to cling to. Now, the promo that he cut during Raw Talk after the show tonight might have helped him out. And the promo tonight that Enzo cut before the match is probably one of the best promos that Enzo has ever cut in his life. But these guys, they need something big time now that they're separated to set them apart. They need that the Shawn Michaels had the Heartbreak Kid thing, that he developed shortly after the Rocker split. These two need to develop their own identity on their own, otherwise they will be sunk quickly. And it needs to happen in a fairly quick fashion here. And that's if I would have to guess probably within the next month or two, because if nothing is doing with these guys going into the fall, I think they're both dead in the water. Yes, Virginia, there was a Dixie Carter sighting on a WWE pre-tape on a pay-per-view in 2017. God, what a weird year we're living in, eh? Now, the Tag Team Iron Man match between the Hardys and Sheamus and Cesaro. What a great match. From front to back, that's 30 minutes of probably the best tag team action you will see this year in the WWE, for sure. I'm not going to include in wrestling in general, just because the Hardys had that great ladder match with the Young Bucks going in or involving in WrestleMania weekend on a Supercard of Honor and that stuff. There's been stuff over in New Japan as well, and jeez, just wherever you watch down the line. NXT's had a couple great ones this year too. So, but it's up there. It makes the top 5 definitely. A lot of fun to watch. The score itself was a 3-1 lead for Sheamus and Cesaro at one point, and the Hardys fought back to tie. And then within the last minute, Sheamus and Cesaro get a pinfall to go up 4-3. And yeah, they kept it nice and tight. Leads the door open for one more match. The question remains, will we see the Broken Universe in this feud at all? My guess is shortly. I think that this is leading on and on to something along down the line. Also, 2 observations in that segment. One, Matt Hardy got sliced big time hard way. Ouch. We'll have to see how many stitches that was there. And second, Ray Rougeau shaved off his mustache. He's not an All-American boy anymore. Come on, Raymond. What are you doing? Then we had the Raw Women's Championship between Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. And this match was a very good one. It was toe-to-toe. This was one of the matches I was looking forward to see. These are 2 of the smaller statured athletes in WWE that get bigger pushes. And they knocked it out of the park. This match was back and forth. And I love Alexis's double jointed trick that she does with her arm. I think it's fairly interesting. The girl with an athletic background such as hers is to incorporate that in. That's a natural. Do it. Keep doing it. She's a rock star. Banks, what more can be said? I think these 2 have enough charisma to lead the women's division for as long as they want. I think this rivalry, this is the first of many matches we'll see from both of them, between both of them, I should say, and I'm looking forward to it. I think, I'll put this out there, I think between the 2 of them, this might have the potential of being the next Trish and Lita feud, because in terms of classic matches and that stuff, because both of them just seem like they're going with it. So, also had to laugh at the Twitter account at StrikeScoreMMA, which stated, and I quote, and I'm reading it off the phone just to make sure I get it right, Alexa Bliss landed 21 of her 28 strikes, but she still needed a countout to escape with her title. I didn't know they did that for wrestling pay-per-views. Who knew? Now it was time for Miz and Ambrose for the Intercontinental title, and this one, I hope we've seen the end of this feud just because it's been played out a little bit too long. I think both of them are primed up to go on and to move on to other people. If you watch Raw Talk, it looked like the seeds were planted with some sort of mixed tag at SummerSlam between Miz, Maurice, and Ambrose and Renee Young, maybe. I hope they don't go down that route. I hope if we get one more match out of them, then fine, but I hope that's the last one for a while, just because we've seen this for way too long now, or in my opinion, way too long. We've seen it on SmackDown. They brought it over to Raw. Yeah, they need to move on. It's getting stagnant. Good match, but just stagnant. The Reigns-Strowman ambulance match. Braun Strowman is a backwoods Terminator. Just some cyborg that some hillbillies created out in the back barn somewhere. The dude's a monster, and now probably the biggest baby face on Monday Night Raw after tonight. Unreal. Rough match. Kind of clunky to begin with, but the ending was quick. I love the ending with Reigns going for the spear and him going whoop, right into the ambulance, and Strowman just slamming the door. Reigns kind of taking a page out of Strowman's book, yelling, "I'm not finished with you," and just going nuts on Strowman, putting him in the back of the ambulance, taking him out to the parking lot, and then smashy with the ambulance. I thought we were going to see a monster truck or a semi-truck. Well, we kind of did. We saw a semi-trailer get backed into by an ambulance at a high speed. Unreal. But the way that angle on the evening wrapped up was very confusing to me. You know, they get the people around the ambulance and that stuff, and nobody's doing anything, and they're trying to pry the door open with a crowbar and that stuff. At first I'm thinking, hey, somebody walk in to the ambulance, to the driver's door, and maybe, you know, put it in drive and see if it will actually move a few feet so you can get to the back of the back section of the ambulance that is probably, you know, will fall off or has fallen off. You know, there's an idea or so. That's one idea, but I can see the psychology. Oh, you don't want to move the guy if he's hurt or something. Then going to send out a bonus match between Kurt Hawkins and Heath Slater to the crowd. That just looked like the guys were just taking practice bumps in the middle of the ring. Both guys looked like they weren't trying too hard at all. It was strange. While the Authority showed up with the Jaws of Life and everything to pry open the door. Then you pry open the door and Strowman is, you know, again, the backwards Terminator rolling out of the ambulance and just kind of clunking along. I think we could have done without the practice match. So honestly, it just seemed way too weird. And, you know, it's just one of the weird decisions. This is from WWE Creative that thought that would flow the show along, but in turn it just made everybody, the live crowd and the crowd at home, kind of sit and scratch their hands, or scratch their hands and scratch their heads at the same time. If you can do that, it'd be kind of goofy, but you know, somebody can. Maybe Alexa Bliss can. She's athletic. Who knows? And in the main event, Brock Lesnar defending the Universal title versus Samoa Joe. And that match was everything as it was advertised to be and more. It was two big dudes just, you know, Joe jumps Brock prior to the match and takes it to him. The bell is delayed ringing on the outside, and that's because Joe's sent Brock through one of the announce tables on the outside. So Brock comes in, smiles, and they get back at it. And there was the thread of believability there that, you know, Brock would actually lose to Joe at one point. Like, I've, you know, turned to some friends I was watching the show with, and I was like, you know, this could potentially be the night that, you know, Brock drops the belt here. Like, this looks like this might happen. But Brock came back, was fighting from behind most of the match, and came out, great finish where he'd come out of, I think it was out of a submission in the corner or something, out of a Kikina clutch attempt and turned it into an F5. Man, wow. Great match. I hope there's a sequel. I really do. And it looked like at the end with Joe kind of sitting there looking like he was, you know, he learned, he knew exactly where he messed up and he was just this close to ending it. God, you know. Yeah, sign it up, bring it to SummerSlam. Let's bring it to the party this summer. Make it a submission match like Jim Cornette suggested. That would be great. All in all, awesome card. Stupid name for a pay-per-view. 8 out of 10. Check it out if you have the network, haven't seen it. It's a definite must-watch. It's a long one. It clocks in at just around the 3-hour mark. And but it's a solid full 3 hours. You'll enjoy it. You'll love it. And yeah, it's a great pay-per-view, and probably one of the best pay-per-views not named WrestleMania or Royal Rumble we've seen this year. Bottom line, they've knocked it out of the park. Alright guys, I'm Kellen Nitro. It's been a great 2 weeks, a very interesting 2 weeks of wrestling. I'm putting on my drag racing hat now for next weekend because I'm out gathering content at the Rocky Mountain Nationals here in town. Over on my drag racing channel, so tinyurl.com/drag files for that. But if you like the wrestling stuff, tell your friends about this channel. tinyurl.com/Nitromaniac TV will get you right to this channel. Tell them to like, subscribe if they see something they like, if they like the New Japan G1 stuff I was doing, and if they like the GFW stuff I was doing, you know, tell them to drop me a line and say, hey, great stuff. If they like the gimmick table, let me know about that as well. Some great ideas coming in the coming weeks for this channel as well. So look forward to seeing you there. I'm Kellen Nitro, later days, and yeah, happy wrestling watching, folks.